Welcome everyone to Unscripted Coding. We're going to talk very quickly about Meta's new Llama 3 and show you how you could start using it right away in your own projects with Anyscale. Now, very quickly, Meta has released the Llama 2 previously, and now Llama 3 is the next iteration of their open source model. The big thing here is Llama 3, of course, makes a big jump, and they make some very big claims. There are two different sized parameter models here. The first is an 8 billion parameter model. This one is particularly exciting to me. And there is a 70 billion parameter model, a much bigger and more complex model. Now let's talk about the 70 billion parameter model first. This one is competitive with Gemini Pro 1.5, Claude 3 Sonnet, and GPT-4. Now, I personally think it'll probably fall a little behind that pack, except maybe beating out Claude 3 Sonnet, but you can see it's roughly the same tier, and generally, these benchmarks, they're so close, it's a little artificial. You just want to use and get a feel for which one is best between your different use cases. The one I'm really excited about is the 8 billion parameter model, because that's the one you can run locally on your computer, on your own graphics card, even on a cheaper kind of CPU. It's small enough to be able to run locally, and of course it's open source. Meta Llama 3, the 8 billion parameter model, seems to have made pretty massive strides. You can see that Llama, that's the Google model, and Mistral 7B, that's Mistral's model, they're quite handily beaten across the board, and some of these by a very wide margin. If you look at Human Eval and GSM, like they're more than doubling the score of Llama. So supposedly the claim online is that Llama 3, the 8 billion parameter model, is comparable to GPT 3.5, which was getting kind of old, but a very good model when I was using it, way back a year ago. So being able to run it locally, being able to fine tune it, being able to run it on the cheap is a huge, huge, huge benefit. Now, if you're wondering how cheap, I want to just show you quickly. GPT-4, okay? It's $30 for a million tokens, or $60 a million tokens between input and output. Now, even if we swap to the cheaper model, GPT-4 Turbo, $10 and $30 for a million tokens, depending on whether it's input or output. If we use Anyscale, you will see Llama 3, 70 billion parameters. It's $1 every million tokens. They make no differentiation between input and output. So that is a factor of between 10 and 30. Quite significant, especially if it's competitive. Now, if we scroll down to even GPT 3.5 Turbo, this one is 50 cents a million tokens and $1.50 for a million tokens input output. And let's say you hit it right in the middle, it's about $1 a million tokens. It's Llama 3, 70 billion parameters will handily beat GPT 3.5 in most use cases. So you are roughly getting the same price for a much better model. If you go down, it's 15 cents for the 8 billion parameter model. This is among the cheapest you can get from an API. Very, very tough to beat that pricing, and so that's why I'm excited. You can lower drastically your costs of anything you used GPT-4 or GPT 3.5 for. Okay, so I don't want to go too deep into this because there's no, there are very scientific benchmarks that you can take a look, but I asked GPT 3.5 to write me a poem about coding, and you'll see some of these are pretty good. Intertwine, divine kind of rhymes, but some of these aren't so great. Symphony, melody, fix, exist, not great. And so actually it's doing better than I thought it would. If we move to Anyscale, one of the options you want to use for Llama, we're going to try Llama 3 70 billion parameters and ask it to do the same thing. And so in theory, this should be GPT-4 level. Has a title. I actually think this isn't as good. Just because I like rhymes. I'm an unsophisticated rhythm. God, I can't even. Okay. Bright, sight, find, design, place, space. This one looks pretty good to me. I wish the formatting was a little bit better, but I think that is more a function of Anyscale's playground rather than the model. I played around with this a little before the video. Couple of drawbacks here. Llama 3 is definitely a little more restrictive than other open source models. I think it's even a little more restrictive than OpenAI, but just by a touch, meaning if you ask it for inappropriate content, profanity, things like that, it's a little more reserved, so you'll have to jailbreak it a little bit. The other caveat is if you're used to working with OpenAI, the prompting is a little bit different. Llama 3 seems to benefit from very explicit, direct instructions. It's actually nice. It can get quite a bit shorter, but it does benefit from just saying do not, you must kind of things, whereas OpenAI, sometimes you fiddle with the language, and so a lot of the prompt libraries, they seem to work better on OpenAI, but you just need to adapt them a little bit for Llama 3. So this is roughly the same price here. If we go to the cheaper 8 billion parameter model here, we'll clear here, and rhyming poem about coding. This one looks a little bit more like GPT 3.5. Delight, bright, sight, night, grow, toe. Interesting. Again, this is not a great. This is not meant to be a great comparison, but the Llama 3 8 billion parameter runs pretty well. And if we go into this pricing chart, let's compare it very quickly to Llama 2. And I think you'll be quite surprised at how much poorer the answer is going to be. Okay, that was unexpected. That obviously was not a good poem. But you can see here, the structure, the quality of this answer isn't quite as good. And if we even go with other kind of cheaper models like, let's say, Mistral 7 billion parameters and do the same thing. And once again, I'm going to check the pricing here. Llama might be a good one to test as well. Clean takes flight, makes things... I make things happen so fast. I don't see anything that rhymes here. This is not following the instruction very well. And I do want to try Llama. I haven't used Llama very much. Oops. Oh, this one looks all right already. Bright Night, Grace Place. This one looks all right. But in short, I think you're going to be quite happy with Llama 3, at least in my tests with 8 billion parameters, in translations, in trying to write an email, for example, some of those corporate kind of functions. Llama 3, the 8 billion parameter, very, very exciting because it's so much cheaper. Okay, we're going to get to the interesting part of all of this, is that if we get to the Get Started section of Anyscale, you're going to find that this is incredibly easy to use. It still uses the same OpenAI package that you're used to, and so you basically don't have to do anything to move things over. You have the model name, which will change, but you're going to change the base URL and API key. So it's just changing the endpoint from somewhere at OpenAI to Anyscale. And then you can use the same code you have always used for OpenAI and just adopt it over. And so, where did I put my code here? You can take a look right here. Again, here's my API key. You don't want to leave it exposed like this. It's going to get killed the moment I upload this video, so feel free to try. But we have a nice simple query, and I'm going to replace it with my own. This one is Mistral 7b, but if you go back to the playground, you can kind of copy and paste from here. And so, of course, we want the Llama 3. And we'll just paste it here as the model name. Helpful assistant who is also a poet. And very simply, we save, we run, start debugging, and we're going to see the answer. Uh-oh. Lines. Oh, here we go. I wonder what the problem was. Here's a rhyming poem about coding. And again, all I care about is the rhyming. Home, roam, might, light, find, divine, most host. That looks all really good. And so what I wanted to really stress is that Anyscale has made it super easy, because you might have built all this infrastructure already with OpenAI and you're worried about how much work it would take to move over to Llama 3. Anyscale makes it super easy. You just change the endpoint and all of the rest can just migrate over. Everything. It uses the exact same package. It uses exact same mechanism. All of this all fits right in. And so I hope you guys have a lot of fun trying these different models out. Personally, I recommend Mixtral. This one mixes a couple of Mistral models together, so you run it multiple times through it. Basically, pretty cool. Neural Hermes, I have no clue what it is. I think it's a fine-tuned Mistral 7 billion parameters, but that was my favorite before this Llama 3 8 billion parameter. And so between the two now, I'm trying to figure out which one I like more. The real problem I have with Llama 3 so far is that it is quite restrictive. It does come in and say profanity, I can't help you with that. There's some inappropriate content, I can't help you with that. And that's been a challenge. As soon as any kind of swear word comes into your prompt, it stops. And you know, we are human. We don't need to be guided that severely, in my opinion, whereas some of these other models are a lot more open. And so depending on your use case, that may not be a problem whatsoever. I think that's it. Give it a shot. Try Anyscale. It's super easy, and I think I might do another video later on just switching between these models. But Llama 3, really exciting, because we're again pushing the next open source series of models and pushing that performance. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next week with another project. Thanks for watching. Bye.